Ahoy!
Welcome to another episode of the Bottom of the Stream Movie Show. My name is Adam.
My name's Nick. Welcome back aboard the Stream Boat. We are Bottom of the Stream. We are a world famous podcast, and we are here every week to dredge the bottom of the Netflix stream in the hope that we will pull up a hidden gem of a movie.
We are. That's what we do. And sometimes we do. We've had a good season.
Yeah?
So sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do. Did we last week? Can't remember. Yeah, you thought we did. I wasn't so convinced.
Redemption of a Rogue. Yeah, it was a really good movie. But we've not gone random this week.
No, we have not.
Because if you are a patron of the show, you, as one of your perks,
Yes.
get a wild card once a season, which means you can choose which movie we talk about that week. And someone has called it in.
Jordan Shenton,
The man, the myth.
the man, the myth, the legend, has called in his wild card and he has picked a movie called To the Bone. To the Bone is from 2017. It is a 15. It runs for 1 hour and 47 minutes. Currently rated at 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb and is a Netflix original. 6.8, I think, is the highest we've done this season.
Is it?
I think so.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
We'll go through it and see what we think. See if we agree with that, shall we, I guess?
Yeah.
This movie stars a lady called Lily Collins. She plays a character called Ellen. You will know her if you're a Netflix fan. She is in Emily in Paris.
She is.
She was also in Mank,
Yes.
which got Oscar nominated a while back, and was also in The Blind Side when she was a lot younger. This movie also stars a man. His name is Keanu Reeves. Second appearance on the show for Keanu Reeves.
I mean, yeah.
He's in that movie. The Bad Batch? No.
Third appearance on this show, though.
Third appearance. Oh, of course, yeah, he's in
For
that.
Keanu Reeves.
Third appearance on the show for Keanu Reeves.
What
He's in SPF 18, isn't
what
he?
an odd 3 different movies we've seen Keanu Reeves
That was
in
a
on this
cameo in SPF 18.
Yes.
He's in the post-credit scene, I think. You obviously know Keanu Reeves. He's been in The Matrix, The Speed, Point Break.
The Speed.
The Speed.
I love The Speed.
loads and loads of stuff. You Bill and Ted. You could just go on forever. SpongeBob movie. Loads. This movie was written and directed by a lady called Marty Noxon. You might know her. She wrote and directed and created Sharp Objects,
Okay.
which was a show a couple of years ago, I think now. But she was also a staff writer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, wow.
And she's a credited writer on 24 episodes of that. And I did a little bit of research on this film. So this film's being billed as a Netflix original. However, they didn't make it.
Okay.
They purchased it for $8 million.
Ooh.
That's it. Very, very small numbers for a cast with Lily Collins and Keanu Reeves in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Do you have a one-word review of To the Bone?
Serious? And I don't mean that. I'm not being flippant.
Yeah.
But I struggled a bit with this because the other one I was thinking of was like worthy. Because I think it's important that this film exists.
Yes. Absolutely. But
I didn't want to make a one-word review because usually they're really pithy and like I was trying to avoid being just like flippant and offhand.
yeah. Go on.
I just wanted to say before we got into it that like as sort of a disclaimer, I guess.
Yeah.
That like this is a movie about anorexia.
Yeah, eating disorders.
And eating and like I've done a bit of reading about this movie.
Okay.
And there's a bit of a mixed reaction on seemingly how it was received.
Oh, okay. That's
in
interesting.
terms of its, I'm not talking about the movie performances, stuff like that, because that's what we're here to do. But in terms of its accuracy, its
message.
Yeah. And I suppose my disclaimer would be, we're not here to comment on that.
No, not at all.
And we don't know.
I don't know.
Fortunately, never been involved with anyone who suffers from this. But we're here to
talk about it as a movie. Yeah, we're talking about it as a movie, not as a concept, I guess. First thing that comes up on the screen is a disclaimer. The film has a disclaimer of
It's
its
got a
own.
trigger warning at the start.
It has. It says this film was created by and with individuals who have struggled with eating disorders, and it includes realistic depictions that may be challenging for some viewers. That is the first thing that comes on the screen in the beginning of this movie. What happens after that, Nick? Where do we start?
We're in a hospital.
A hospital.
In a arts and crafts section.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like these people who stay there, they call what do they call
Inpatients.
them? Inpatients. They call them something in this movie. I can't
did
remember
they?
what it is. Yeah, I'll come to it. Yeah, there's a load of girls in there, and they're like kind of discussing
We're talking about
eating
food.
disorders and food and
Yeah.
eating disorders portrayal in the media, that sort of thing. And we meet Ellen for the first time.
Yeah.
Ellen is our main character, played by Lily Collins. And she basically, she doesn't agree with what these people are talking about. So she says, stop blaming others. It's all your fault.
Yeah.
And she holds up a sign that says, suck my skinny balls.
Yeah. That's what she'd been working on.
That's what
in
she'd been working on in arts and
crafts.
crafts. She then quite quickly leaves this hospital and goes home.
Yeah, we cut to her being released in inverted
Yes.
commas. Whether she's...
Kicked out, maybe? It felt that way.
Yeah, I think the whole point of Ellen's character is that she thinks she's in control of her condition,
Yes.
of her illness, and is self-managing it, and
Doesn't need any outside help from them.
is not open to.
Yeah.
She's not ready to.
The only help she takes is when
accept
people
help, is
force
she?
her to take help,
Yeah.
basically. So she leaves hospital. She goes home in a taxi. She drives past loads of fast food restaurants, and there's a sort of a montage. And she is greeted at home by her stepmother. No, she's not. She's greeted at home by a maid who works there.
Yeah.
And she's given a room to stay in the garage. They've converted the garage into a bedroom,
Yes,
and that's where she's going to stay.
but there's still just a load of racking and boxes
Yeah,
in there, and they put a
Absolutely. It's
camp bed
basically
down.
just put a mattress on the floor. She does some sit-ups, and then she gets served a meal. And we meet her stepsister for the first time, Kelly.
Yes, correct.
And she quizzes Ellen on the calories in all of the items in this meal, and she knows them all.
Like
off the top of her
joking,
head. Jokingly, yeah.
Jokingly, she says, "Oh, I bet you'd know how many
Calories
calories
are
are
in
in all this,"
each
and,
part,
and
she
Ellen
does.
reels them off.
Yeah, she does. Then we meet the stepmom for the first time. So she lives with her stepmom and dad and stepsister.
Yep.
But we never meet dad
No,
all the way through.
and it's stated at the start. Oh, he's busy working.
Yeah.
He's like,
He's absent. He's an absent
Yeah.
father, and he can't deal with this.
no, he's and
And
it's basically said he stays away because he doesn't want to face dealing with
and
his.
the way this movie
daughter.
portrays that is he's never in the movie. So basically, the stepmother says, "Look, if you're going to stay here, you've got to stay. You've got to play by our rules, or you
You've
can."
got to eat and be weighed, basically.
Yeah,
We
basically.
want to see progress.
And Lily, I'm going to do this all the way through this. Ellen's like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Phoenix then, because that's where my actual mother lives." And she's like, "Your mum doesn't want you there."
Yeah.
She sends hugs.
Yeah.
Then she goes and weighs in.
Can't deal with this right now. I
Yeah.
think is the phrase you use.
Then she goes and weighs in with the stepmother, and the stepmother takes a photo. I didn't catch the stepmother's name. I don't know if we ever told it. And she takes a photo of her while she's being weighed and shows her this photo. And she says, "Are you happy with that?"
Mm.
And Ellen isn't happy with that, but there's nothing she can do about it. So that night they sneak out. Her and her sister sneak out.
We hear Dad behind the door
Yeah.
arguing with Ellen's stepmom.
Yes. So they sneak out. They go drinking up on a hill somewhere overlooking LA. And she's convinced she's going to get kicked out of this house because she isn't going to try. She doesn't feel like she needs to put any effort
She
in.
says, "I don't need to. I've got it under
It's
control."
under control.
And Kelly tells her, "Well,
Eat."
you look like shit."
Yeah, she's like, just eat. She
Yeah.
can't understand why she just doesn't eat. But then she said, the kind of thing kind of ends when Ellen says, "Nothing bad's going to happen. It'll be fine. Don't worry."
I liked their relationship.
And then Kelly comes back with the line, "Everybody who's about to die says that."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was strong.
But they had a good
Yeah,
relationship.
they had a good relationship. They did. It
Yeah,
was
good
probably the
chemistry.
only positive relationship in that family
Yes.
was those two.
Yeah.
The next morning, we found out that the stepmom has spoken to the mum and she definitely doesn't want her up in
Yeah.
Phoenix, so that's not an option anymore. So she's like, "I've booked you this appointment with this doctor. He's a bit of a radical,
Yeah.
but he's
We
our
want
kind
you
of
to try one
we want you
more
to try him."
specialist.
And, yeah, and
So, and the stepmom's like, "He's very hard to get time with.
Yeah,
There's
I've
a
got you this
limited number
appointment.
of
I've called in
slots."
some favours. So she does. She goes to this doctor.
And she doesn't understand why Ellen is not thankful for this.
Yes. And we meet the doctor for the first time. All the way through, I've called him Dr. Keanu Reeves because he's played by Keanu Reeves, but his name is Dr. Beckham, I believe.
Yeah. Here's a question for you.
Go on.
Who's the better looking Beckham, Keanu Reeves or David Beckham?
Keanu Reeves had a lot less work done than David Beckham.
Yeah.
Ooh, controversial. Keanu Reeves, definitely.
I support your decision, and I agree with it.
So we meet Keanu Reeves as doctor for the first time. And basically the stepmom talks his ear off for the first 10 minutes of this interview.
Just verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
And Dr. Beckham just kind of is half listening.
Yeah, he's not interested. He's
like,
all he's doing is making eye contact with Ellen.
Yeah.
And she's like rolling her eyes at him.
Yeah.
Eventually he gets her away. He takes her away into like an examination room. And he examines her. And he notices a lot of bruises on her back because she does a lot of sit-ups, and he knows that's where that's coming from. She tries to deny it, but he just knows. He's seen it before. He tells her that she says she hasn't had a period for ages, and she doesn't feel unhealthy though. She says,
"Yeah,
I feel fine. I don't feel unhealthy."
And then he points out all the hair on her arm.
Yeah, she's got really hairy arms,
and he says, that's.
You don't have any body fat, so your body's keep warm.
Yeah.
And he's brutally honest with her. He's like, look, if you're not prepared to help yourself, then there's nothing I can do.
He says, I will not treat you if you don't want to live.
Yeah.
And he says a couple of things to start off. If you're going to come into my care, my program, I don't want to hear you talk about food.
Yeah. We never talk about food.
It's not helpful.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah. No one gains anything from it. And you are committing to 6 weeks as an inpatient.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't want to go back into
she can't. She's already
facility.
done. She's done stints like this before. She
I think
doesn't want to do it again.
This is a fifth attempt.
Like that. That night she tells her stepmom what's happened and what she's going to do it. She agrees to do it. She goes out.
She's got a space.
Yeah, she goes out and tells her stepmom that she's going to do it. They have dinner together. Or the stepmom eats and Ellen pushes some food around a plate. Yeah. There's a line about she thinks she might be a lesbian.
Yeah, she's like, are you gay? Is that why you won't eat?
Yeah.
And I was a bit like, that's like, I know they're trying to show this stepmom character like doesn't understand.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was a bit
wasn't it?
Heavy-handed, wasn't it? To like,
yeah,
to have an older person, she's not even that old. Stepmom go
probably our age.
Oh well, are you hiding your sexuality? Is that why you've got this illness? And it's like,
but I guess it's like that's how people like that think. I guess, and that's what they're trying to portray.
I mean, I just think some of these characters were
paper thin.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
The sister though, she says, "Look, if you're going to do this, can you at least try this time? Like, put some effort in and actually try and make it work." And then the stepmom brings out a big.
Kelly, on the other hand, her stepsister felt like a real person.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. And I think that was reflected in the conversations that Ellen and Kelly had.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then the stepmom comes back with dessert, and she's got this big cake that looks like a burger,
and it just says "Eat up, Ellen."
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
no one would be that
insensitive.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of paused it and went, that took me out of this.
Yeah, I agree. It felt really out of place with the rest of the movie as well because it doesn't happen again, and
it wasn't a laugh. It was like I was like, that's no one would be like that. I don't think.
I don't think so.
Am I being naive?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe. You can imagine somebody coming out of a big McDonald's or something. Then in the next scene, she gets dropped off at this place is called Threshold.
Yeah.
So it's not like a hospital. It's a house.
It's a house.
It's just a house that 6 other kids live in with a couple of nurses.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Keanu Reeves turns up every so often. So she gets welcomed there by one of the girls,
Anna and Kendra. I think.
Yes, I think it was
2 she meets.
And then she meets Lucas, and he says it's Lucas like mucus, which I thought that was quite funny. So he's given the task of giving her the tour around the place, and
he's a posh British kid.
He is. She gets all her electronics taken away. They take away her phone and her iPad,
Yeah.
even though she says, I only use my iPad for drawing. She's an artist. She
Yes,
does
yeah.
lots of art. And then she gets left there. The stepmom leaves. And Lucas tells her he wants to be called Luke, so he gives her the tour of the house.
He explains kind of the
the rules
system.
and the
You do
system.
chores, you get points. You get enough points, you get rewards. That can be, you could get your phone back for a bit. You could go out for the night, or
The more you do around the house, the more you'll be rewarded. At the end of every day, they do a check-in, which they do now.
yes. So it's her first session, I guess. They take turns talking, and they have to talk about what they saw as their victories during the day, what they struggled with, a sort of group session.
And there's one girl who's now being tube-fed. I think it was her name Pearl.
Pearl, yeah.
She's now being tube-fed, so obviously that's her struggle for the day, and she didn't have any victories. Because all she can think about is how many calories this tube's given her.
Yeah.
And then Ellen reveals that it's 1,500
Yeah,
a day.
she just turns and says, I think it's about 1,500.
Which makes this girl freak out because that's far too many calories. Ellen's struggle was coming here, actually making the journey to get there, but her victory is being here, and she is there, and she's prepared to do this. Then it's mealtime. It's dinner time.
We just get a bit on Luke as well. He says, I was a dancer,
Yes.
a ballet dancer, and my hope is that I can
Do that again.
get better.
He's injured his knee,
Yeah.
much like yourself. And that's caused his eating disorder. And now he's been there longer than everybody else, I think. And
He says 6 months.
Yeah, he's on the mend. At mealtime, they get told the rules of the mealtime. Basically, everybody has to be there. Nobody can leave.
You have to be at the table, but you don't have to eat.
There's
Eat what you want.
Nobody discusses food in this place. You eat whatever. There'll be food on the table. If you want to eat it, eat it. If you don't want to, don't eat it.
Yeah.
And if you have special foods, we'll do that for you. It's not a problem.
You can request what you want.
But whilst people are eating, you can't leave the room, and the bathrooms will be locked 30 minutes after the meal's finished.
Yeah.
So you can't go and throw it all back up again. One of the girls gets upset because she's...
It's Pearl. So
It's Pearl again, yeah.
She runs away from the table, and it's because she, like you said, she
got
upset.
pizza in front of her or something, but she can't eat it because she's already had her calories because of what Ellen told her earlier.
So Ellen kind of sketches her a bit later on.
Yeah, she draws her a little bit. Luke goes off to comfort her. Then she goes back to her room. Dr. Keanu Reeves comes in. He goes to check on her, basically just to make sure she's settling in okay. It's her first day. And that he's organised a family group session for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And everyone's coming, even her mum's coming.
Yeah.
We're from Phoenix. Because he convinced her mum to come by saying it takes me longer to drive from the valley than it does for you to fly from Phoenix. So she's coming.
And it comes out through the course of their conversation that Ellen has a small amount of notoriety.
Yes.
She was internet famous for a
little while, yeah. Some of her drawings went viral on Tumblr, I think they said.
Does that exist anymore?
No. I think it got shut down a while back. He leaves and then she does some sit-ups in bed.
Yeah.
We find out one of the girls in the home is pregnant.
Yes.
At this point. And then we go to this family therapy group session that the doctors organised.
Oh, just before that, before the morning, she's woken halfway through the night by Anna coming back.
Yeah.
She'd been, as one of her rewards, I guess, a couple of them had been out to the cinema.
Yeah.
And she said, this is like not relevant to the plot at all, but Ellen says, well, what did you go and see? And she says, we've just got back from a Shaun of the Dead Zombieland double bill. I was like, that sounds
awesome.
Good night out.
That does sound like a good night
out. But Anna says, all I could think about was how fat Emma Stone was in Zombieland. She's at least a size 6.
Famously not fat in Zombieland. Yeah. That's how these people think, though, I guess. So then we're at the family group session. Everybody turns up, except for her dad. He is too busy at work to come.
Yeah.
But her mum and her mum's girlfriend does turn up.
And Dr. Keanu Reeves has one of the best lines in this movie.
Yeah.
Because he says, I think this is a record number of mothers for one patient.
Yeah, because he's got 3 mothers there and a sister.
Her real mum tells Ellen she looks like a ghost.
She does, yeah. That's her first thought.
And this session instantly
breaks down,
degenerates into the stepmom, real mum, and mum's girlfriend just arguing with each other.
Constant, non-stop arguing about the silliest little things.
About dad
Yeah.
and how much sex they did or didn't have.
Yeah.
Basically ignoring Ellen as well is the reason why they're here.
Yeah. And Ellen just pipes up. She apologizes for being a problem. It's all her fault.
She says, sorry, she says, let me start again. She says, sorry, I'm a problem, not a person.
Yes. And Dr. Keanu Reeves pipes up with fuck, fault and blame. They have no place here.
Yeah.
Nobody's blaming or faulting anybody.
He says it's how you want to live your life from this point. You're in charge. You can choose how to live moving forward.
And then he speaks to Kelly. He ignores the mums because they're just bickering. So he says to Kelly,
"You've not spoken. Is
yeah,
there anything you
how
want
do
to
you
say?"
feel? And she says, I feel really angry. I don't understand why she doesn't just eat.
Yeah, she says, and
then
maybe playing the audience to agree. Kelly says,
yeah,
I don't get it. You just eat.
Yeah, why can't you just eat?
And she says, I feel angry that I can't have a sister.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having my sister taken away. I'm not having this experience of having a sister.
And this did resonate with me because Kelly says, I look at family photos and I don't see, that's the time we were at the fair. I see, that's the day you passed out or when you've,
I think Kelly was probably, aside from Lily Collins' character, Kelly was the most well-written character in this movie.
She felt like she felt like a real person, whereas the mums felt
caricatures.
They were so self-righteous and self-obsessed that they almost felt parodies at times.
I agree.
And they soon start arguing again.
Yeah, they're all the way through.
Kelly's moment of wisdom and poignancy is brushed over, and one of the mums says, "Well, it's your fault that Ellen's blog killed that girl."
Yeah,
and we're like,
ooh,
what's this?
Future story here.
Yeah.
As soon as the session finishes, all the mums leave. The stepmom just goes straight out to her car. She doesn't talk to anybody. And the real mum gets called back to she's got to go to a flight, to catch. So nobody actually talks to Ellen at any point during any of this session.
Kelly speaks to her outside and says, just please get better and then we'll never have to see any of these mums again.
Yeah, we can get rid of all these mums. And Kelly says, if you die, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Which I thought, again, really nice line. That night, Ellen finds something under one of the girls' beds.
Under Anna's bed,
Anna's bed. We don't find out what it is straight away, but we do find out in a little while.
It's a bag of stuff.
Yeah, there's a brown paper bag of something under her bed. That night at dinner, they're all talking about this girl that's being pregnant.
Yeah, Megan's pregnant. She's a bit older than the other patients, I would say, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're all having, they're talking about baby.
Yeah, they're getting excited. There's baby name discussions going on.
And a couple of girls are like, can we have a baby shower? It'll be really exciting. And Megan says, it's too early. We need to, look, maybe once I get past 12 weeks, then maybe.
We'll talk about it. And it's not easy for somebody in her situation. Yeah. All the while this is going on, Ellen's just sitting at a table.
She doesn't eat anything.
She's just pulling a chicken breast apart. Yeah. That's all she's doing. It's revealed at this point that the bag that she found under Anna's bed was full of vomit.
And clothes and
stuff. She basically,
And she tells her this. She says, I found your bag, because they sort of are passing on the stairs, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Anna says, well, I'll tell you what, don't tell anyone. If you keep my secret, I can get you some laxatives.
Yeah. And then it's like, Ellen doesn't really do that sort of thing. She isn't like throwing up after eating, and she hasn't got that. She just doesn't eat. And so she's like, I don't do that. I don't do drugs. I don't do that sort of thing. And Anna's like, I've seen what you do with your arm, because she has this thing with her arm where she tries to join her fingers around her arm, a finger and a thumb around her arm, and she can't quite do it. And that seems to be a target of what she's getting to. So,
but I presume this was going to be a plot point now, but as far as we know, she never gives her drugs, and
she turned them down, didn't she? She didn't want them.
No, I thought she said, she kind of agrees. She said, yeah,
but I think that was just to get rid of her.
Anyway, it didn't develop.
I don't think she ever had any intention of taking them. She goes to Luke. Comes out. She's sitting out in the garden. She smokes as well. Ellen does. So she's sitting out in the garden having a fag. Luke comes out to speak to her, and Ellen kind of attacks him a little bit. She's not in a good mood. She's had a bad day.
Yeah.
But he bites back. He gives her some home truths, and he never takes anything personally in this film.
No.
Again, I thought he was another really good character in this.
He was good.
He knows his role in this house. He's been there.
He's
over
nearly
it.
done.
He's almost over
out
it.
of the program. Yeah.
And his role now is to help everybody else through it.
He eats. He eats. A fairly normal-looking guy.
Yeah. And his job now is to do the tough love and get them past it, and do the stuff that the nurses can't do, I guess.
And a little while later, so they have this argument,
Yeah.
they kind of walk away from each other, but a little while later, Ellen's obviously feeling guilty, and she goes and knocks on his bedroom door.
Door frame. They don't have doors.
Oh, yeah, of course they do. And Luke, they get chatting, and Luke sort of says, "Yeah, I've been here for 6 months."
Yeah, this is where his story kind of comes out.
Yeah.
He's been here for 6 months. He's an injured dancer.
He felt that he peaked as a in
He's
his,
at 19.
Yeah. in his career, and he was with the Jersey Ballet, and that's what he's trying to get back to. And she turns around at one point in his room and notices that he's got a copy of her viral drawing.
Yeah, one of her
on the
drawings
wall,
is on
which
his
we
wall.
only get a glimpse of.
Yeah.
Should we have seen more of this artwork that we hear so
Yeah,
much
we don't.
about in
We
this
don't
movie?
see any of the artwork pretty much ever,
Yeah,
apart from the odd glimpse here and there.
this is a glimpse of a anorexic girl.
Yeah, she had a
And it
Tumblr
looks
post
like
of
a-
art for anorexia.
Quite a
girl.
powerful image.
Yeah, but we don't ever see it.
And Luke tells Ellen that, you need to give this a chance. Dr. Beckham Keanu Reeves is a really good guy,
Yeah.
and he's really helped me, and he's helped lots of others, and try it.
Yeah, she says to him, "How do you eat?"
Yeah.
She asks him that general question, and he talks through it. He's like, "Look, I've been here this long. I've taught myself how to eat again, and it helps that I'm really hungry."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah,
So, and then they talk a lot about candy, don't they? So he asks her what's your favourite
Yeah.
chocolate bar, and she describes it, and they talk about that a lot.
yeah."
Um,
Next morning, she goes for a weighing again.
I think it's bad.
It's bad. It looks bad. They don't ever tell you how much she weighs, but the look between her and the nurse is not a good thing. And the nurse says to her, "Look, once there's no more fat, the body will start to burn muscle, and then you won't be able to move, and you'll be bedridden."
And
bad
Ellen
times
just
will-
brushes it off. She's like, "Yeah, I've heard it
whatever.
before. You're not scaring me." But she goes back out after the weigh-in, and most of the other patients they're sitting around watching TV, and she starts to talk to Megan.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, something you said earlier really, I really liked it." And Megan says, "What's that?" And Ellen says, "Well, you talked about you're looking forward to not putting yourself first and having
you
to
have
look after
a
your
baby
baby
to concentrate on."
Yeah, and it's the sort of, I guess, the first chink in Ellen's armor.
Yeah. Whilst they're watching this TV and having this conversation, Luke comes in. He's got this chocolate bar that she was describing earlier.
Yeah.
Looked like a big cookie type thing.
Yeah.
And he tries to make her eat it. He basically says, "Look, you want this. You know you want this.
Yeah.
You've told me earlier you wanted it."
They unwrap it, they sniff it.
They sniff it. She touches it, but will not bite it. She refuses.
He pushes
to
it
bite.
too far,
He
too
does.
quick.
He pushes it too far, and she tells him to back off.
Yeah.
and-
So he calls her a coward.
Yeah, because he's not, like I said, he doesn't take anything personally. He knows they're not attacking him. He's like, "Tomorrow you bite." That's his line, and then he leaves. And then the scene ends with all the girls smelling the wrapper of this chocolate bar and getting pleasure out of just smelling the wrapper.
Next scene is Ellen's next session with Dr.
Oh, yeah,
Beckham. And she says she thinks it's going all right, and she says that she can see that some of the other patients are doing well.
Yeah, she says she's getting on with some of the patients.
And he says, "I think that's the first slightly positive thing I've ever heard you say."
Yeah, progress seems to be being made. She also explains that her family's always like that, and that's not just a one-off thing. That's what happens every time they get together.
She says, "Is it all right if we don't talk about my family again?" And Dr. Keanu Reeves just goes, "Fucking yes, we are never doing that again."
Yeah, your family are a negative influence.
He said, "Your sister is the only one who is not completely self-serving."
Yeah. But then he says something really strange. He says, "I don't like your name."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't like my name either." And then he's like, "Well, why don't you just change it then?" And she's like, "You can't just change your name." And he's like, "Just tell people to call you something different."
Yeah.
For the rest of this movie, we've got a different character name for this character.
And this, considering we were told at the start, Dr. Beckham's methods were really, random and unconventional.
Yeah.
This was pretty much the only unconventional thing
I
that
think
happened in the movie.
The unconventional thing in this situation is not talking about food and letting them eat whatever they want
Maybe.
in the house. I think that's what they were getting at for that.
But yeah, he's like, yeah, you should rebrand basically,
So
a
she
new
does.
start.
And they settle on calling her Eli from now
Yeah.
on. And so that's what we will call her for the rest of this movie. She gets home, she tells Luke, she's like, "My new name's Eli." And he likes it. He's like, "Yeah, I can see that. We'll work with that. Let's go for it." And then he calls her dazzling. He says, "You are dazzling." And he invites her to dinner. He's like, he's got enough credits to leave the house and go out for dinner.
Yeah, and he can take one person
And
with
he's
him.
allowed to take one person with him. And she says, I don't think I'm restaurant ready.
Yeah.
I don't even eat here. So
He says, well, you don't have to eat, but I'm going to.
yeah, so come with
And
me.
he seals it by saying, we can walk there.
Yeah,
It's quite far.
yeah. We're going to walk into Hollywood, basically. So they do. They walk there. It's kind of like a...
She's walking really fast. And there's quite a funny exchange because Luke's like, slow down.
I've got a bad knee.
Yeah. He's like, it doesn't matter how fast you walk. You won't burn more calories.
Yeah, it's about distance, not
Yeah.
speed.
She's like, no way.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. It's bullshit. They get to the restaurant. Luke orders for both of them. And he then guilt trips the waitress into getting them alcohol.
Yeah.
By telling the waitress...
They're
that
both of age, but they've not got ID.
Yeah. So she gets them alcohol because he tells her they're cancer patients from
Yeah,
the
and this
local...
might be their only date.
Yeah.
Their last and only date.
So she brings them alcohol out in
Polystyrene.
polystyrene cups to disguise it. And she's got all this food in front of her. She's not going to eat it. She's just going to watch Luke eat it.
No,
But
yeah.
then she does eat it.
He says, look, try it. I don't care if you eat it, but try it.
He holds up an egg roll, doesn't he? And he's
Yeah.
like waving it in her face. And she does. She bites it. But then she spits it out.
Yeah, and then she carries on doing that with all the other
She
stuff.
eats the entire meal, but never swallows any of it.
Yeah.
She just spits it out into tissues. I thought that scene was quite emotional. That's when I really realised what was going on here, I think.
I think... So,
she really
I don't know
wanted
if I'm
that food,
I
but she
don't know if I'm
couldn't,
getting
just couldn't
into this
swallow
too
it.
early, but like... Did this movie go far enough to be powerful? Because I agree with you. I thought this scene was powerful
Yeah.
and not... That wasn't always the case with a lot of
Agreed.
this other rest of this movie.
Agreed. It went
But
powerful at that point, and then it kind of backed away from it.
But just seeing them having... Because they're not talking about the issue at hand. They're not talking about the illness at this stage. They're just being normal
Yeah, they're just having a date.
kids talking about whatever. And the character of Ellen is here taking a mouthful, chewing it, spitting it out into a napkin. And I'm like... That's the most affecting part of this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
far to me.
Yeah, I think so. It's when it really made me sit up and listen to them. Like, okay, I
But
kind
that's
of get
going
what
on
this
in
is
a
now.
normal situation.
Yeah, and even the waitress normalised it. She even gave them another meal.
Yeah.
The waitress was like, they told her some bullshit about she can't swallow because of the chemo or whatever. But she then brought out another meal so she could do it all over again. And I thought it was really poignant. And then this movie goes where it goes, and it really felt like a bit of a letdown. But we'll get there. We're getting there. The next day that night at the group debrief, one of the other girls is really jealous that she got to go out.
Yeah.
She's not been here long. She hasn't got any credits. But they're like, that's Luke's choice. He can take whoever he wants. He's got the credits. The next day, Dr. Keanu Reeves comes and takes them out on a road trip.
Yeah, he's got a group trip
got a
booked.
group
he
trip
says
booked.
he says again, this was quite difficult. We've been working on this for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going out.
And he takes them to what I can only describe as a rain room.
It's an art
It's
gallery.
an art gallery that's got this room, completely black room, and inside it's raining. And it's just, it looks awesome, to be fair. I'd love to have a go in it.
Yeah.
And you can just go into this room and be rained on.
Luke says to Dr. Beckham, what is this?
Yeah.
And he just goes in his
It's art.
Keanu Reeves way. Art.
It does.
And it was right. I liked the scene up to a point.
Yes.
I thought this again is quite affecting. Keanu Reeves walks into the water looking amazingly like Keanu Reeves, a Hollywood movie star.
Yeah.
And then Luke walks in, and I was fine with it up until then. And then a couple of others walk in, and then the artsy fartsy bollocks started.
Yeah.
And it all went into silhouettes, and Luke does a dance.
Luke's a dancer, so we
Yeah.
get that. But yeah, he did an artsy
And there's
fartsy
a-
dance in the rain.
You know, there's a song playing over it, and I was like, and it's slow motion, and I was just like, it took me out of it.
Yeah,
Took me out of it.
Afterwards, they go off and they're outside with some towels.
Yeah.
Why they couldn't do it inside, I don't know. But she goes up for a smoke. The doctor won't let her have a smoke. He takes the cigarette off her. And they have a bit of a heart to heart again. She says she knows life is beautiful, but she
says, I
can't
almost had a
stop.
good time there, basically.
But I can't stop what I'm doing. And he's like, that's bullshit.
She says, I've got a voice that
Yeah.
tells me I'm not allowed to have fun and that even though if I know life's beautiful, something is going to come along and
Yeah.
mess it up.
And he says, well, tell that voice to fuck off.
Yeah.
And he says that quite loud and everybody hears it. And he's obviously had that same conversation with all of them. And they all start telling their voice to fuck off. And that night when she gets home, she eats the cookie thing.
Yeah.
She uses a knife and fork, but she eats it. The girl who's pregnant, Megan,
Yep.
she reveals that she's now 12 weeks and 1 day
Yeah.
pregnant, and it's a girl that she's having. So now they can have a baby shower
They
because
do.
they can start realizing that this baby's real. She's got through the hardest part, I guess. So they do. They have a party. They have a baby shower, the usual things that you would imagine, and it culminates with Luke and Ellen and Eli going outside, and they eventually hold hands in this conversation. They're basically a couple now. They have a sex conversation because he asks her if she's ever done it, and the answer's no. And then he asks her if she's ever had an orgasm, and she never really answers that. She just kind of laughs it off.
Yeah, it moves on to it.
Yeah, and he goes on about how it's different for guys, and he can have one just by thinking about it. It was really strange. But he says to her, "Look, you need to be touched by someone who cares about you." And then he goes in for the kiss, and he kisses her. And then he says, "I think I'm falling in love with you."
Was this not all just a bit much and a bit quick?
It was a bit quick. I think his guard came down at this point, and he went too far too quick, and it freaked the fuck out of her.
Quite rightly.
Quite rightly.
Did you not think, though, Luke has gone from, I don't know, he just turned into a sex fiend, sex pest.
He
pouncing on this.
He lost control of himself.
Pouncing on
a
this
little bit.
vulnerable.
Yeah, but he's vulnerable himself.
No,
And
I know he is, but-
he may be like getting over this and he's at the other end, but he's never been in this situation before himself. He's just trying to figure it out, I guess. He did go too far, and he knew as soon as he said it, he knew he'd gone too far because she pushes him away.
And she's like, "You don't know what it's like to be me.
Yeah.
Look, don't think you do. Just because we've got a similar illness." And then again, a sort of bit of verbal diarrhea from Eli, and she says, "You don't know what it's like. You like me because of my drawings. Well, you don't know that a girl killed herself because of my drawing."
Yeah, her Tumblr blog led somebody to suicide, and she got named in the suicide note.
She wrote a suicide note to Ellen, and then she said the parents contacted me and sent me pictures of her.
Yeah. That's going to fuck you up. And she says she doesn't believe in love. She says people don't love you, they love the idea of loving you. And then she runs off to her room.
It's like Jimmy Cullen from last week.
They'd be a good couple. She runs off to her room. She does loads of sit-ups in bed. And that night, in the middle of the night, she's awoken by a scream. A blood-curdling, horrible scream. And she runs to the next door room. Luke runs out as well. Everybody runs out, and it is Megan, and she's in the bathroom.
Yes.
Not in a good way.
No, she's miscarried.
She's miscarried. Which I guess they kind of all knew was going to happen. They were just hopeful that it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was always the unspoken thing in this house that people like that don't get successfully pregnant. Next morning, nobody's eating. They're all sitting around the breakfast table.
Yeah. Shocked
and tired. And Dr. Keanu Reeves is there. It's the first time we've seen him there in the morning. And he comes in and he's like, Megan's in hospital. She doesn't know if she's going to come back or not.
No. So she says the main thing is physically she's fine.
Yeah.
But...
And then I think it's Pearl says, I want to go home.
Yeah.
And he says, look, bad things happen. And it's about how we cope with them that counts. And that's what this place is all about. It's about teaching you to deal with the way bad things can happen in your life. And you can't do what you do to deal with that. And then he gets one of them to read a poem. Again, which I thought
called Courage.
Yeah, it was a bit artsy-fartsy again.
And it's intercut with a montage of Eli exercising / getting weighed and
that night at the group session, it's revealed that Megan has decided to go home. She doesn't want to come back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of gutted them all. They're all like a tight-knit family.
It's knocked Eli back into her sort of negativity.
Yeah, completely.
Because she just says, well, the baby was never going to make it anyway.
And which then the next scene, she's talking to Dr. Keanu Reeves again. And he says, I've been told that you're a day away from going on the tube.
Yeah.
There's literally, you're 1 day away from being fed by a tube now. This is getting serious.
Yeah.
It's really serious. And she brushes it off.
She's like, I've done it before.
yeah, whatever. And she wants to know more about his life. And he doesn't really have a life. He says his work is his life. He doesn't have any partners or family. What he does is what gets him through the life. And she asks him if he's avoiding intimacy. And he says, stop waiting for life to be easy.
Yeah.
You could have an incredible life, but it will not be easy.
And Eli says, well, isn't that your job? You tell me how to not be messed up. Aren't you here to fix me? And Doris Beckham says, no, you've got to do it.
Yeah. And she says, fuck you, and leaves.
She says, you've got to take it on. You've got to move forward. And if you want a life, it's there. You just need to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She tells him to fuck himself.
Fuck you. So she goes home. She goes back to the house. She starts packing a bag. She's going to leave. She's going home. She's had enough.
She insults everyone who passes
literally
by.
everyone.
And
then she meets Luke on the stairs, and he's on crutches because he'd been to get checked out at the surgery. And
he's told he needs another knee operation.
He needs another knee operation, which will be the end of his career. He will never dance again. And he's devastated by this, and you can tell in his face that he's devastated by it.
And he's double devastated because she's on the way out of the house.
She's going to leave anyway.
And Luke says to her, you can't go.
I need you to
Ballet's
stay.
like my first thing, but you were
second.
keeping me going.
But she goes anyway.
If you think about... Yeah, she says, don't think about just yourself for once. Other people need you.
Yeah.
And she leaves anyway.
She goes anyway. She heads to the bus station. She's going to get a bus somewhere. But before she passes out at the bus station. She gets revived by a couple of kindly strangers who offer her some food and some water, but she doesn't take it. And the next thing we know, she's on a bus and she can join her fingers around her arm.
Yeah.
Which has been a success. That's what she wanted to do. And she arrives in Phoenix. She's not gone back to her stepmom's house. She's gone to her real mum's house. And I didn't like her mum character at all.
No.
I thought she was a nasty piece of work. And her mum's girlfriend was even worse. Basically, they're going to put her up in this like Airbnb tent that they've got in the garden. They're like hippies, aren't they?
Yeah.
They live on a horse farm. What's a horse farm called?
Stud.
The doctor's called the house, and he wanted to talk to her, but she wasn't either there yet, or
she hadn't arrived yet.
And there was a boy that wanted to talk to her, and then they're asking if he's got a boyfriend and all this. Then this film takes a real turn.
So her mum is telling her that, I know I've been a bad mother. She says if I'd had you now and it was like the modern day, we'd know about postpartum depression and things like that. And she said, look, I know I didn't hold you enough when you were a baby, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff, which is all quite, actually, quite almost moving. But then, because her mum's kooky, that's the character trait, isn't it?
She's a hippie.
Alternative.
Yeah.
She says, I've been reading a lot about potential, how we can build our relationship, therapy methods, and one thing that really struck me
She's been talking to a pastor as well, she said.
Yeah. Was like, I should feed you.
Yeah. But not like a meal.
No.
She wants to feed her with a milk bottle, like a baby.
And like cradle her.
Yeah. And Eli's not convinced by this
at
all. What? And she says, look, when the doctor called earlier, I could tell that he was afraid you're going to die.
Yeah.
And she says, if death is what you want, I will accept that.
Yeah, and that was, what a line.
Yeah, that's the triggering line.
Where's more of that in this conversation?
I agree. In any of the conversations.
Yeah, it's one line, and it's a really powerful line, but I don't think this script's good enough.
We'll get to it at the end, but I think he might be right. So, yeah, she says, if death is what you want, I will accept that, and I will stop. I can't keep fighting you, and I won't keep fighting you.
And that kind of breaks Eli.
Finally, we get through to Eli a little bit. Something she tries to trigger something in her that's like, fuck, I might die here. And then she says, Mum, will you feed me?
Yeah.
And she does. And she gets all cuddled up on her lap and gets fed by a baby bottle. And her mum sings a lullaby while she's doing it. And that took me out of it. Because I'm like, maybe this is a thing that I'm not aware of. As I said, I'm not an expert on this. But it just felt kooky. And it didn't feel like it fit properly.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It felt kooky with what we've seen the rest of the movie, yeah. I agree.
That night, during the night, Eli decides she's going to go for a walk.
Yep. Right in the
desert.
Yeah.
Well, she's in Phoenix and
Countryside,
she says
yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah.
So she wakes up on the floor.
Big sky.
Big
all that
sky.
sort
There's
of
a big
stuff.
sky. She wakes up on the floor in the middle of the night and she can see the moon. And she just looks at the moon and says, "Okay." And then the next time she opens her eyes, there's striking sunlight and Luke's there.
Yeah, she imagines being with Luke.
Yeah.
They eat.
Yeah, he says, "Get out of the sun. It's too sunny. Go and stand under that tree." And he calls it dazzling again.
Yeah.
And they kiss under this tree.
And then they're sitting up in the branches, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, she's under the tree and in the tree at the same time.
Yeah.
So this is all in her head.
Yeah.
None of this is happening. And they're sitting up in the tree. They kiss, and he breaks the kiss, and he says, "I need you to look." And she looks down, and there's a naked, really skinny girl at the bottom of the tree,
Yeah.
and it's her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't recognize herself. She's like, "Is that me? I can't believe that's me."
Is that what I look like? Yeah.
Yeah. And then he gives her a magical piece of coal, which he says, "This is your courage.
Yeah.
You need this piece of coal. It's your courage." So she eats that.
Yeah.
And he disappears. And she wakes up in the dirt where she was.
And she goes, "I'm not dead."
She just checks her pulse and she says, "I'm not dead." So she doesn't go back to her mum's house. She goes back to her stepmom's house. She goes all the way back to the stepmom's house.
Yep. Hugs Kelly and the
Hugs
stepmom.
Kelly and the stepmom.
Dad's still not there.
No. She says, "I'm going to be okay," to Kelly and the stepmom. And then they take her back to the Threshold house. She goes inside and the movie ends.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Nick?
I'm not sure how I can best phrase this, because in a way I liked this movie more than I thought I would.
Agreed. I did too.
But I was surprised how cold it was
Yes.
and how because I think I'm quite an easily emotionally malleable person
Yeah,
when it
I
comes
think-
to movies.
I think you are. That's a good point.
I don't think I'm a difficult crier,
No.
and I was pretty cold to this whole movie.
Bit dry all the way through.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think at some point...
I thought this might be a tearjerker, and there was nothing.
No, I was expecting this to be a tough watch, and it isn't.
No.
And I think there's a point when you're making a movie like this where you have to decide, are you making a movie or are you making a message that's going to help people? And this gets
I'm not
lost
saying-
somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
isn't
saying
either.
this should be a movie full of, imagery that is.
No.
There's ways of doing it without it all being, images of people suffering from this disease, because that's not what's needed either. But it felt very clinical and cold and not.
I never once believed that she was in danger.
Yeah.
Her attitude never changed. Her personality never changed.
Even that
Even
light
the-
bulb moment at the end, it felt tacked on, didn't it?
It did,
almost?
and the whole dream sequence at the end just didn't work for me. It was like, yes, this is a movie, so she's going to get a realization or a revelation at the end of it. That's what happens. There's many other ways you could have done that, I think, than doing it in a dream sequence after she's just been almost breastfed by her own mother. It just the ending felt really kooky, and I didn't like the ending at all. But I did like the movie, but it didn't go far enough. I don't feel like this movie is going to help people.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's what it wants to do.
Too safe.
Too safe. I think that's fair.
Yeah. When I liked this movie the best was when Ellen was at the threshold and they were working as a group together and experiencing this journey, if you like.
The best things about this movie, we'll get there in a minute, but the best things about it are her relationship with Kelly and what develops is her relationship with Luke.
Yeah.
Because when those three people are working together, it works.
And I quite like the supporting character, the other
Yeah,
guys at the threshold, the guys and girls at the threshold.
Yeah, and I thought Keanu Reeves did well.
Yeah, he did. Amazingly, I bought Keanu Reeves as a doctor.
Yeah,
It's
completely.
like, I didn't have a problem
And
with that.
the lady who played, I don't know who she was, but the lady who played the nurse in the home as well, she was really good.
But the mums
Their mums were terrible. All three
are
of them.
so like.
Paper thin, cookie cutter.
Well, they are,
characters.
but they're out of step with what this movie. It's like they're half written as comical
Yeah.
because they're so extreme of like being. I get that people people would not understand this disease, because the character of Kelly puts it really well, where she just goes, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
You just eat. But the mums are so caricature of like out of touch parents.
Yeah, they really are.
Like I say, it took me out of it.
The stepmom character felt like she wouldn't have been out of place in like Beetlejuice or something like that. It was like those sort of Stepford Wives characters. Yeah, the stepmom especially was like that.
Yeah,
and the lesbian mother who
she
lives
was in this from a different movie.
Yeah, she was,
and it just didn't hang together. I think the middle. Yeah, probably the middle 2 quarters of this movie is the best bit.
Yeah, it is. 100% is. The beginning's not, and the end's not, so it has to be.
The performances are okay. No one blew my socks off.
No,
they're good, but not. No
Nobody's
one blew
great.
my socks off. And I was just really surprised at I didn't emote in this movie at all.
No,
I didn't.
I agree.
Which I thought was going to be a given.
Yeah, I was fully expecting this to be a really tough watch, and it wasn't. It was just a movie about a girl with anorexia. And I mean, the caveat to all of this, I suppose, is if this movie has helped one person, then it's a success.
Yeah, of course.
And that is fine. If that's the case.
I didn't find it the hard-hitting movie I was expecting.
Same. And that might be on us, but
Maybe.
yeah. What's the best thing about it? I think I've already said it. I think it is the relationship between her and Kelly and her and Alex. Luke. I almost got all the way through without doing that. The guy's real name's Alex.
Yeah, it's the scenes with Kelly, and it's the extended sequence, I guess, when they're at the threshold.
Yeah.
It's...
The absolute worst thing about it is that dream sequence at the end.
No, I didn't like the dancing bit.
No, that as well. The best scene is the scene in the Chinese restaurant, I think, where she's eating and spitting the food out. I thought that was really like... that's when I thought this is going to go somewhere.
Because you're seeing
now.
That behaviour in the inverted commas real world.
Yeah.
It's impactful.
Yeah. I thought this is going to move into this is going to get tough to watch now and it never did. It never did. And it's a real shame. Should we talk stream table?
Sure.
We've got 20 films in the stream table. This is going to be the 21st.
Okay.
Shall I read all the way through it?
Sure.
Number
okay, go for it. I think I've got a position.
Okay, number 20 is Spaced Out, 19 is Buddy Games, 18 is Nightwolf, 17 is Here Are the Young Men, 16 Freaks You're One of Us, 15 Mercy, 14 Sweet Girl, 13 Still Time, 12 Girlfriend's Day, 11 Cadaver. The top 10 currently are Paradise, Redemption of a Rogue, Catty Catty, Don't Listen, Against the Ice, The Humans, The Waterman, Warriors of the Future, and Hellhole, and then Blood and Gold is currently at the top of the stream. Where's this one going then, Nick?
I think I would slot it just below Girlfriend's Day.
Okay. I'm not far away from that because I was thinking just above Girlfriend's Day.
Okay.
I think purely
that is about there, isn't it?
It is definitely around there somewhere. I think purely on the fact that there might be a world out there somewhere where this movie's helped somebody. And
Girlfriend's Day is about a world where greetings cards are the most important thing in life. I can't argue with that logic. I cannot argue with that logic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. 12. I think that's fair. I think somewhere around mid-table. He'll end up mid-table at the end of the season now.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah? Happy?
Yeah, I am.
I can't spell for. Cool. That means we need to talk about next week's movie.
Sure do. Only, 4 left this season?
Yeah, 4 more. I think this is the first time this has ever happened in the history of the show.
Okay.
We've got another wild card.
Wow, 2 in a row.
2 in a row. I don't think that's ever happened before. Ross Cook has played his wild card. He's the final wild card for season 9.
Yeah.
He kind of appears to have misunderstood the game.
No, it's completely the Patreon's choice.
Okay.
So just to give that context, whoever's wild card movie finishes highest in the stream table, that person usually wins a prize at the end of the season. I suddenly feel not very well if you're telling me he's not.
All
not
that being said, bear in mind, all that being said, Ross Cook has picked a movie called Sextuplets.
Okay.
Are you aware of Sextuplets?
I think I'm a little bit aware of it, yeah.
Okay, cool. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's from 2019. It's a 12. It runs for 1 hour and 37 minutes. Do you want the synopsis?
Yes, please.
Father-to-be Alan is shocked to learn that he was born a sextuplet. He and his newfound brother Russell set on a hilarious journey to reunite with their other long-lost siblings.
Yeah.
All of the siblings, all 6, are played by Marlon Wayans.
Yeah. I'm aware of the existence of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel... okay, let's just go for it. That's what we're here for.
The top of the poster says, "From the people who brought you naked."
I think that only this show could we go from, you know, a drama about anorexia to a Wayans comedy.
Yeah, where he's playing 6 characters.
Them's the breaks.
I'm not going to lie, I'm not excited about this one, but this is as far from a me movie as I think it ever gets. So,
Open mind.
I will go in and watch it, and we will come back to talk about it next week. So yeah, go out and watch Sextuplets. And in the meantime, check us out on Instagram and Letterboxd at BOTS_podcaster. Our usernames on there. If you want to drop us an email, our email address is bottomofthestream@gmail.com, and our website is bottomofthestream.com. On our website, you will find every episode we've ever recorded, all the stream tables, loads of other cool stuff, and you can even get some merch if you want to buy a Bottom of the Stream
Chocolate bar.
Feels a bit insensitive. After you've done all of that, head over to patreon.com/bottom of the stream. On there, for £5 of your English pounds every month, you will get early access to the movie show episodes. You will get bonus episodes. You will get a poster. You will get a wild card, which means you can do what Ross has just done and what Jordan has just done, and pick a movie that we watch one week. And if you pick the best one of the season, you win a prize. And then, when you've done all of that, head over to Discord. The Discord is a wonderful group of wonderful people who will talk to you about anything, chat to you about all sorts of shit. We play games, we do watch-along. We didn't even mention the watch-along we did last week.
Oh, we didn't.
We did a watch-along last week. It was great. We do that once a month, so come along, join us for the watch-alongs. They're fun times. The Discord link is in the show notes.
If you can spare a few minutes, please consider leaving us a review or rating anywhere you can review or rate podcasts. It really helps get our show in the ears and in front of the eyes of more people. We can make more friends. That's what we want to do. Spread the word about these movies. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts. That's places like Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, Apple Podcasts, all of the big and small podcast apps.
Indeed.
We're on them.
We are. We're on all of them. And if we're not on one, let us know and we'll get on it.
Sure.
So yeah, do all of that. And we'll be back next Monday for The Wave and next Thursday for the movie show.
Cheers.
Bye.